Thank you for being here and watching this video. If you enjoy it, please like, subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comments. I want this channel to be more than just a collection of videos. I want it to be a community where we explore fascinating ideas, discuss them openly, learn from one another, and grow together. So don't stay silent, join the conversation. Human psychology and mind-reading books focus on behavioral pattern recognition, helping us decode micro-expressions and emotional intelligence to understand the hidden layers of social influence. We don't literally read minds in the science fiction sense, but we are constantly interpreting signals, tone, hesitation, word choice, and emotional shifts. This isn't supernatural, it is the rigorous study of human behavior. At the core of human psychology is a simple but profound truth. People reveal far more than they intend to. The mind is not a sealed vault. It is a porous entity that leaks information through unconscious habits. A slight pause before answering a sensitive question, a sudden shift in vocal pitch, or an overly defensive reaction can often provide more data than the actual words being spoken. To understand how we read people, we must first understand the concept of cognitive leakage. This occurs when our internal emotional state overrides our conscious control, manifesting in physical tells. Books on this topic train the observer to look past the social mask we all wear. For example, while a person might say they are confident about a business deal, their feet might be pointed toward the exit, a primitive survival signal that they feel trapped or want to leave. These are the subtle layers of human interaction that most people ignore, but which provide the real narrative of any social encounter. By studying these patterns, we aren't just learning to watch others. We are learning to see the invisible threads of tension, attraction, and power that define human relationships. Most reputable literature in behavioral analysis focuses on three primary pillars: emotional intelligence, behavioral prediction, and social influence. Emotional intelligence, EQ, is the foundational skill. It is the ability to perceive what a person is feeling, even when they are actively denying it. It involves an acute sensitivity to incongruence, where the words and the body language don't match. If someone says, "I'm not angry," while their jaw is clenched and their pupils are dilated, your EQ tells you to trust the physiology over the vocabulary. Behavioral prediction, the second pillar, is about recognizing repeatable patterns. Humans are creatures of habit. How a person acts under stress, fear, or authority pressure is usually consistent over time. If you can identify a person's baseline, their normal state, you can quickly spot deviations that indicate a change in their internal state. The third pillar, social influence, explains why people conform to groups or resist change depending on the context. This is where the mind-reading aspect becomes tactical. By understanding the psychological triggers that lead to agreement or resistance, you can navigate complex social hierarchies with greater ease. However, there is a critical misunderstanding that many readers develop when they first dive into this field. They start to believe that psychology is a cheat code for controlling others or achieving 100% accuracy in reading intentions. This is a dangerous illusion. In reality, human behavior is noisy, inconsistent, and heavily dependent on the environment. The same signal, like crossed arms, can mean someone is defensive, or it could simply mean they are cold. Serious psychology literature always emphasizes probability over certainty. This is why the best mind-reading books aren't about becoming a human lie detector. They are about becoming a better information processor. They teach you to gather multiple clusters of signals before reaching a conclusion. A single micro-expression is just a data point. 3 micro-expressions combined with a change in breathing, and a stuttered sentence is a pattern. This shift from intuition to data interpretation is what separates the amateur from the expert. It requires a quiet mind and a high degree of observational discipline. you have to learn to silence your own biases and expectations to see what is actually happening in front of you. This process of decoding the unsaid is less about a magic power and more about the relentless application of humility and attention to detail in every social interaction. As we delve deeper into the world of behavioral interpretation, we encounter an uncomfortable realization. We are just as predictable as the people we are trying to read. Much of what we consider to be our unique personality is actually a collection of structured repetitions, habits, cognitive biases, and emotional triggers that have been hardwired into our brains over decades. Mind-reading books expose this reality, showing us that our internal narrative is often a post hoc justification for unconscious reactions. When we study the patterns of others, we inevitably begin to see those same patterns in ourselves. This is perhaps the most transformative aspect of studying human psychology. It forces a level of self-awareness that is both enlightening and humbling. From a practical perspective, the application of psychological insights improves every facet of human life. From negotiation and leadership to conflict resolution and personal intimacy. You begin to notice when a partner is aligned with your words, but not your intent. You start to see the hidden agendas in a boardroom not as malicious plots, but as the predictable outcomes of fear or a need for status. This allows you to address the root of a conflict rather than the symptoms. Instead of arguing over the words being said, you can address the emotional shift that triggered the argument in the first place. This level of communication is what characterizes true leadership. The ability to navigate the emotional landscape of a group without becoming a victim of it. However, the real value of this field is not the ability to read others like an open book, but the ability to reduce your own misinterpretations. Most social failures and broken relationships do not stem from a lack of information about the other person. They stem from overconfidence in our own assumptions. We see a signal, we apply our own bias to it, and we react as if our interpretation is an objective fact. This is the mind reader's trap. Serious psychological study teaches us that our perception is a filter, often distorted by our own past experiences and insecurities. The more you understand how the human mind works, the less certain you become about your first impressions. You learn to hold your interpretations lightly, constantly looking for new data that might disprove your current theory. This paradox is where real insight begins. The goal is not to achieve perfect certainty, but to master the art of probabilistic thinking. If you are 70% sure someone is lying, you handle the situation differently than if you are 100% sure. This margin of error allows for empathy and dialogue. It prevents the observer from becoming a cynical judge who sees everyone as a set of mechanical triggers. Instead, it fosters a deeper connection to the human condition. You start to see that most deception or defensiveness is actually a protective mechanism. When you can read the fear beneath a person's aggression, your own reaction shifts from anger to strategic compassion. You aren't controlling them. You are de-escalating the situation because you understand the hidden mechanics at play. In the end, human psychology is an exercise in learning humility. The more you study, the more you realize the vast complexity of the individual. Every person is a unique intersection of culture, biology, and personal history. While the patterns are repeatable, the meaning behind them is deeply personal. Mind-reading books provide the grammar of human behavior, but life provides the literature. You have to read the whole story, not just the individual words. The ultimate goal of this discipline is to become a more effective, empathetic, and aware human being. It is about closing the gap between what we say and what we mean, and more importantly, between what we hear and what was actually intended. By mastering the art of the unsaid, we don't just gain an advantage in life, we gain a deeper understanding of what it means to be human in an increasingly noisy world. Thank you for watching all the way through. I really appreciate you being here. Let me know what you think about the ideas in this video, and feel free to share your own perspective or advice in the comments. I genuinely like to read it. If you enjoyed this kind of content, please like the video and subscribe. My hope is to build not just a channel, but a community where people explore meaningful ideas, exchange thoughts, and grow together. See you in the next videos. Bye.